Inside the OMG episode number 123. That means 123 weeks in a row. Are you kidding? Since March 5th, 2019, every Tuesday night, we've been streaming live. Sometimes we jam, sometimes it's the whole band in here, sometimes we've got special guests. And tonight is one of those nights that we have a very, very special guest with us. Sitting to my right, your left, the amazing, the talented, the great DJ Severe.
What up, everybody? What up, everybody?
So happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, I think it's 11 years now.
13.
13 years now, the official LA Dodgers DJ. 13 years is no joke.
Time flies. I was like,
man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I want to we're going to get into all the Dodger stuff.
Okay.
But we got a lot of ground to cover before we even get there.
Let's do it.
What we like to do is really, do a deep dive and figure out what makes you tick.
Okay.
And just what inspires you, what drives you, why you're in the position you're in, and how did you get here? Because you're a story of inspiration, because that's what creators do. You're a creator, and so creators inspire, and I know our viewers love to hear these stories, and so let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
So tell me, why and how did it start with DJing? Like, how old were you? Did you see someone do it and just go, I can do better than that? Or was it like, ooh, I want to do that? Like, what happened? What was the moment?
I think it was a combination of things. So from a young age, I always loved music and vinyl that attracted me. My stepdad had a huge vinyl collection, just listening to certain music. And then I think the tones, my mom played piano.
Okay.
And I was just always around music, and just at an early age, so I just gravitated. Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, just like all the good things. And it's funny how when you ask people those influences, every mom and dad had different influences around the house, so everybody kind of like took on like different things. Mine was more like Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, The Whispers, stuff like that.
Yeah, The Whispers. Yeah.
And then just I knew at an early age I just became kind of enthralled with just going through vinyl, seeing vinyl set up, like looking at the different record album covers, like Ohio Players, just all the different things, what I mean, the ladies with the honey dripping on them, you know what I mean? And then just so you hear your parents playing this music on the weekend, and then you're like, when they're gone from work, then you're like, okay, now I'm going through everything to kind of like see what this is, and then like, oh, what's this and what's that, and then even Richard Pryor albums, just everything around.
Yeah, all that.
And so, and then even on car trips, even with the 8-track player, you hear it, so you start learning the music, and you're like, okay, like I like this melody.
Player.
8-track
player.
We had
one of those. I know about that.
So then you start taking these trips, and I guess that's where my musical energy started, like kind of like transforming, and I kind of knew what I liked, and then as I'm coming up to school, I got into band. I used to spend a lot of time at my aunt's house too, and so this is right when the Columbia House thing first came out, where you get like 12 records for like a penny.
I remember that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I can remember going through the little book.
Yeah.
And then like I guess going through my dad's records kind of like made it so I was just kind of going by album covers, like what I think attracted me.
Okay.
And it didn't make a difference whether it was, I know I had some country, some rock. I just had anything in it. I just was picking based off album covers. So it's like my first delivery came. It's like I think that's how I discovered. I got both Heat Wave albums in that. I got some silvers, just a bunch of stuff in it. And so that was kind of like my own first like collection, and I listened to it at my aunt's house on the summer. And I'm just like, that's when I started to learn about the liner notes and just reading this person and comparing producers from this side to the next. So I think that's how early on I got settled into really like knowing good music, and then knowing tones, and then how songs are written, what a producer was, what an executive producer was, you know what I mean? How you start seeing these different guitar players, and like, okay, and you start reading the thank yous and seeing who's playing on this. So that became my early on. And then when I was able to take walks on myself to like record stores, you know, because you could buy a 45 for like $1. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'd always go into the record store and then see what was out. It's not even like knowing now like something's going on. You just walking into the store, and then just seeing what's out. You know, you walk in, you smell the incense.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like
Absolutely.
there's usually nobody in there but the person that's in there playing music. You know what I mean? And so you start looking, and you start learning the Casablanca centerpiece, and you start learning, and so then you start relating different. Like, this must be good because this is
it's on this label.
It's on this label,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you start learning your different labels, and my whole family was just musical like that. So you just discover like different things, and each aunt always had just some different stuff going. I had a cousin, and that's how I discovered like Parliament Funkadelic, like through him.
Okay.
And then like you would spend these weekends, and so it's like no matter whose house I was at, I'd always gravitate to their record collection, you know what I mean, and just see what they had.
Right.
And so later on I got into band, and I think that helped me strive to be like first drummer in a band, learning timpanis, learning different, you know, parts. And a lot of my friends who are friends of the day, it's like you start in junior high and you come up and you start learning. I can remember I was thinking about my band teacher the other day. Her name escapes me, but just how crisp she was just, you know, would always just preach to Christmas and like hitting your notes and like understanding your parts. And it was just like really serious to her, because the junior high I went to, we played like the drummers played like a cadence every morning, like with the flag, to put the flag up. So, and to be first snare was like serious, because you got to
you have to be
you
exact.
have to be exact.
Precise.
And so that was my like probably my first goal of wanting to be like first snare.
Okay.
And I can remember the person was this dude named Joel, who was like first snare ahead of me, a couple years ahead of me, probably like I'm in 7th grade, 8th grade, and at least I got to be on, and then finally I made it to first snare.
Right.
And I can remember I used to have this aunt who she's like a mom to me, and she took me on a bus somewhere in Glendale, and I bought my own snare drum because I still have that snare to this day.
Okay.
It's my own Brunswick like white snare. I still have my original sticks, my strap, but it's just always been a part of me musically, and I just kind of like just gravitated to it more. And then so slowly you get out of the vinyl, and I think it was one of my cousins' house where I discovered Prince. And once I discovered Prince, I was like gone, because it's like I discovered Prince at like the Dirty Mind album. That's when I discovered Prince.
Yeah.
And it was at one of my cousins' house. I was like, this is dope. But then later on, I forget how I got turned on to like For You and his first albums. And when I heard his first 2 albums, I was like, man, this dude is a genius, because I just sat there and I tore him apart. And then like you get in high school and 1999 comes out, so it's like I was kind of an anomaly because everybody else was on Michael Jackson at the time, and I was like on Prince. So I became like, although I knew I loved Mike because Mike was so dope, but I became kind of like not anti, but I was like, I'm riding like for Prince.
Yeah, but it's
right
like,
now.
but wait, but have you heard this?
Yeah, but have you heard this?
Because this guy's playing all the instruments.
This guy's playing all the instruments.
Right.
But nobody at the time was like that deep into, because you start seeing, wait, produced, arranged, written, composed, and you know, but like you're like, he just did everything.
I know.
You know what I mean? And then you see the different transitions from For You with the afro to Prince with the perm, and then like Dirty Mind, and like, you know, and that's when the time when everybody had just gone away from him because he had the Speedo on with the, so everybody was like, well, what is this? You know what I mean? But I can remember him being on American Bandstand and coming out like that, and then like all the reaction like from that day. But I never shied away. Like I was like, no, this is dope. Like let me and especially I was trying to tell people, if you really got into what, like, listen to this music and what he did, you would be like turned on to it. It's like Mike is dope. Don't get me wrong, but Mike's not doing.
He's not doing all this.
He's not doing all this at such a young age.
There's a great story, because Mick Jagger from the Stones, he like is always looking for new artists, right? So he like heard about Prince and was like, oh, we got to have Prince open. And Prince was wearing that bikini. That's it.
Yeah.
Trench coat, drops it, and you know, these like classic rock fans, they're like, they can't deal with this, right? They're like, what? But I'm like, no, this. Pay attention to this dude.
Yeah. I was listening to Morris Day tell that story.
Oh, okay.
At the time, Morris Day was there, but he was just his photographer. Oh. And he was saying how.
Wow. Yeah. So this is way before.
This is way before the time.
Yeah.
This is way before the time it had even been thought of.
Yeah.
And he was saying how that day when he saw like, and then I think he said he kind of tried to tell Prince like, hey, you might want to switch it up, but no, he stuck with his
He's
guns.
yeah,
and that's how it happened, because like that's that infamous story of just them throwing bottles and like
oh
everything.
yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean? That would have derailed like most
pretty
people.
much everybody. Pretty much everybody would have
like
put pants
Prince,
back
like,
on.
Put pants back on. They went different, but like no, he stuck to it.
Yeah.
But so then when I really discovered Prince and I got deep into it, like my whole room was just like covered in Prince. Like I couldn't wait to go for him to come. This is before internet, so it's like, you know, you have to really do your due diligence to know when he's coming out with something.
Oh, absolutely.
And then that, you know, this is the age of B-sides and 12 inches, and like, so that's when you really got it. At that time, you couldn't wait to get an album to get into the B-sides.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let me see what else is on here to like tell the story.
It's like, okay, cool, the hits are cool.
The hits are cool, but I need to know the B-sides.
Yeah.
And so that's when everybody said, have you heard this? And you know what I mean? And then so my own like little crew of my best friends, we like discovered the same affinity for Prince. So I had like my crew that was like Prince. And we used to do these things where we would always buy music, because we knew music came out on Tuesdays. So we would always shop and go buy music, and then each person would pick a different cassette at the time, and then we would do like these battles where you would, like, you know what I mean, compare song for song for song. So we really got into it. As I just grew, I just always had a love for music. It changed to CDs, so my CD collection became like just as big. Yeah. And at least CDs still had liner notes, so you could still kind of like dive in there.
Yeah.
You can still read and get in there. And so I got into. I played football, and I graduated high school, and I went into trade school because my parents were in the aerospace industry.
Okay.
So at the time, I was just a fan of music. I never thought, and although I played drums, I was like, look, I got to get a job. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go into this profession, because at the time, that's what you taught you. You know what I mean? Get a good job, work there till you retire. Sure. Pay your house off. You know what I mean? And just retire. So immediately out of high school, I went straight into like trade school, and I got my electronics degree, and I went into aerospace. Okay. Started aerospace in '88. I'm just working in aerospace, but I'm still listening to the radio. Now you're getting into more '90s, which to me is like almost like the best music genre, because now people are starting to merge the R&B I listen to with the hip hop that's coming together, and then the jazz. So I'm like really into it, because now I'm hearing all the samples from before listening to my record collection. So I'm picking up on them as soon as they start. I'm like, okay,
like, oh, I know that.
I know what that is. I know that's from this.
Right.
So that intrigued me even more. And then when you incorporate the art of DJing with it, and how you blend songs together. I'm not a big scratcher. I'm a blender, because for me in California, to be a DJ in California, seamlessly bringing two songs in together to transition, to me that's one of the best things that I strive to do. So as I was working in aerospace, I had a friend who he was having this party, and it was off of deep in the hood, off of Arlington. Okay. And so he's having this party, and he's saying he needed a DJ. I was like, man, I think I can do it. And so all I had was like my CD tower, like 100 CDs, and I took the two, like at the time the CDJ, the little portable CDJs came out. Oh yeah. So I said, yeah, I can do it. So I had two of those and a regular receiver with like tape one, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so all I remember is it's in the middle of the hood, and I'm on this back porch, like crouched down, and I have these two like CD portable players, and I can remember just going through all my CDs in the 90s, and I'm looking in, peeking in at this party, and this party is just like going. People were sweating, and at the time I didn't really think anything about it, but I was seamlessly doing it. You know how hard it is to those CDs? They take a minute to kind of spin around, pick up, get to the track, try to figure out the part, and it's like I wasn't really using headphones to kind of sing, but I was just like timing it out wise. Man, and I just remember this party, a couple people coming to the back, like looking, and they're like looking down at me, and like, man, you're DJing? It's like, what's this? And from I'm like, here? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And they just go back in, and the party just went on. It never was really like thought of. So that's like my first like experiences doing it. And then so I just always kept my collection, always collect I just couldn't wait to get to Tuesday, which was when new music came out, and that was my thing. So at the time I collected. That's when they were still making CD singles. So I collected everything with acapellas and different things. And I just bought I knew whatever was coming out, I bought everything. And so if I fast forward to 2001, I moved to Arizona and with my then wife, and we were getting a divorce, and I came back, and I was coming back and to get back in the aerospace industry, but it was at the first like little downslope where there was no work. So I started working some other jobs, and my uncle pulled me to the side. He says, "Well, how you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of struggling a little bit." I said, "Because the aerospace industry took a dive." He said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I know I can DJ."
Yeah.
And in 2 days, this new CD, one of the first CD controllers was coming out, and I told him I needed to get it, and he asked me how much. He said it was $800. So he wrote me a check right then and there, and then I got the machine and I just started practicing, and then that's kind of like what brought me to like doing it. And I was horrible at first because it was like these first CD machines were actually worse than the portable CD players because they were supposed to do things that they really couldn't do. So you really had to hone your skills in.
Yeah.
But what helped me was like I had just a great collection. I just stuck to it. And when I first told people I want to DJ, they're like, DJ? Like I was like, yeah, I know I can do it. Because I would just go into clubs at the time or shows, and I would watch see what the DJ is gonna play, and then watch the crowd's reaction. And from knowing music, I always knew what made people move or what worked. It didn't matter what genre. It could be jazz, it could be rock, it could be pop. I know what's gonna make. In 10 seconds, I know whether a song is gonna like work or not.
You know, right?
You know right off the bat. And then you're looking for certain elements. Okay, well, if this is here, then let me see what the draw is, chord wise or progression wise or whatever.
Right.
And so when I homed in watching a real DJ and watching the crowd, I said, okay, I know I can do this. It's just a matter of picking the right songs, having the go-tos, but then now weaving in as I get into it what else I can bring into the equation. And that's how it started. So that was like, and then everything else just progressed from there.
Right. Let me do some shout outs really quick.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, we got more ground to cover.
All right.
This is great. All right, so let's see here. Mom and Dad, what's up? Thanks for tuning in.
Well, Mom and Dad.
Jimmy, from the Hudson Valley. I'm guessing you're in New York. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Alexa and Liam, shout out. You're at Disneyland. Right on. All right. Hey, Carolyn, thanks for tuning in. Love that. Barry, what's up, Barry? Barry Chenault has tuned in as well. Fantastic. If you've got any questions for DJ Severe, drop them in the comments, and he'll do his best to answer if he can. He'll do his best.
I'll do my best.
We'll see what happens. Cool. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
In the 90s, I ran into a DJ, and he took one of our first songs and did a remix on it. Do you remember a guy named DJ Hideo?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
And I think he passed away
He
maybe
did.
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, but I remember Hideo.
You remember
yes.
Hideo?
Yes.
Really cool guy.
Yes.
Really nice. Somehow we met through, there was a club promoter who was doing a thing, and so my band played one of the events, and Hideo was there, and we met, and so then I gave him some tracks, and then he like did a remix. It was awesome, and it was great. Yeah, and then I was kind of following him, and he did really well for himself, and then I checked in, years later, and I was like, what happened to him? And it's like, oh man, he passed away.
Yeah.
It's just, but it just curious, because like I know in music circles, it's pretty small. Everyone kind of knows each other, so I just.
It's funny because as I was working in aerospace and listening to what was then 92.3 The Beat.
Yeah.
And all those DJs, a lot of those DJs are my friends now.
That's so cool.
You know what I mean? Which is like, so DJ Dense of the Clippers, and then like I do shows with Pee Wee that used to be on the beat, and then PJ Butter. So like, it's funny for me to have been fans of these people,
and now
they're like my friends, where I can
friends.
just call them, and we're like in the same industry, which still like blows my mind to like this day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, really quick question: what's happening with Instagram? Is it?
It's not on. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay, I can help you.
Okay.
We're gonna take a short little break here as we figure out Instagram, and it's checking connection and should be back. We back? Is it still checking connection, or? Okay. All right. Well,
I'm having trouble starting your live video.
Let's. I got another idea. Let's do this. And I took it off Wi-Fi. Maybe that'll.
Yeah, sometimes that helps.
Yeah,
You're
because we're okay. That's good. All right, so we're back. Instagram. We lost you for a bit, but we're back. Okay, so tell me about how you go about constructing a night of music. Okay. So you've been hired to come in and do a party, and you might not know exactly what the vibe is going to be. So, but going into it, do you kind of have like, okay, I've got my go-to where I can kind of cheat, not really cheat, but you know, like these work and they always work, right? So do you kind of have a skeleton set in a way, and then do you come in and then just go, oh, okay, I got to throw all that out because that's not going to work here. So like, what's the process of creating a set, and are you just like, once you're in it, you're improving?
Right.
You know, like how much of it is predetermined and how much is it that you're like on the fly?
It depends a lot. It depends on how much I know, and the different settings. So it could be a club setting.
Okay.
It could be a private setting. It could be someone I don't know. So I always, if I don't know and someone's trying to book me, and I speak to them, I just ask a couple key questions.
Okay.
What type of party? You know, we need to know what, if it's the event, if it's like corporate, if it's because there's a corporate bag, there's if there's kids involved, you know what I mean? There's all these different questions you want to ask. And basically, so I try to ask them. I said, so I try to get an idea of how old they are. And I asked them for like just to describe their party and get a couple examples. Because all I need is like a couple things, and I'll fill everything else in too. Only thing kind of throws me off is when somebody says, I don't want to hear any of this.
Okay.
Which is, or when people have like themed parties where it's like, we're only doing this. And I always ask them, well, did you tell your whole party that?
They need to know.
They need to know, because if
they're going to come at me like, what's wrong with this DJ?
What's wrong with this DJ? Why is he not playing this or not playing that? And all I said was like, you shouldn't really like do that, because although that's your vision, why are you having a party? You should just listen to that at home and not really have anybody come
put on
into
some
that.
albums of that.
Put on some albums.
You're good, right?
Because even nowadays when people do so-called 70s or 80s parties, other stuff gets peppered in there, because you can only go so long with like everything. So over the years I got experience enough to where it's like, if I can get a pretty good blueprint, then I can like pepper in enough stuff. I just like hate when people say, well, don't play this, or we don't want any of this. It's different when it's just like, okay, only edit the version. That's fine, and that's easy because you can work around that. But now if it's clubs and different things, I like to know who I'm playing with, if I'm the headliner, because there's DJ etiquette, and then most of the California DJs who are like up there now, we have played with each other, so I kind of know what songs they're gonna play. They know what songs I'm gonna play.
Right. So you don't want to repeat.
No, you don't want to repeat.
That's never a thing that you
don't want to
repeat.
Do. And you also have to have, like I said, etiquette. Like if I'm the closer, sometimes I'm on board with 4 closers, and so you learn DJ etiquette, because if it's early on the night, you're really trying to set up. You know what I mean, for the middle person, to bring it home for the,
because there's a vision for the whole night.
There's a vision for the whole night. It's not just me. If I'm there from 10 to 12, and I come in and I knock out all the cuts, and then the closer's over there looking at me like,
good luck.
Like
I did them all.
He's got to go till 2. You know
like,
what I mean?
Oh man, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Now, a real good DJ, even like myself, you might get a little irritated, but you say, I still got stuff I can.
It's like
I can do.
Right.
But like you really didn't help me out a lot by burning through like all the cuts. I was just talking with some DJs about that the other day. It's DJ etiquette. So we really, and a lot of the young DJs don't understand that because they haven't been taught that.
Yeah.
They haven't taught that. And so it takes someone to pull them to the side and like, hey, like slow down on burning through like all the cuts. Like you're working for me. It's the same thing where if you're opening for a band.
Right.
You can't go into club songs and there's a band that has to follow you, because the people at the party will tune out the band because now they're in club mode.
Right.
So you have to find out what the band is going to play, so you stay in that lane. It's like kind of a build up, and that actually works for you because it's like you can stay a certain place. It's more like mingling. The band comes on to do a thing, then you can go on to everything.
Exactly.
But you don't learn that until you learn like with experience.
Yeah.
There's different things, like even like from like the different types of weddings, like a white wedding or a black wedding or like a Latin wedding. Like I remember years ago I was doing a white wedding, and it was like dinner time, and I'm playing the music too loud. Someone came to the side and said, "Hey, we want to have conversations." So it's like that's how you learn. Like at a white wedding, they're having conversations.
Right.
So the music is like different. That's where it's more like low key jazz. But like at a black wedding, they're not trying to. They know everybody knows each other. We're not trying to talk. Like I don't.
We want to vibe.
We want to vibe. So you want to turn the music up.
Right.
And then a Latin wedding could be a combination of all of those.
Yeah.
So you start learning your different like lanes and how to be prepared.
Right.
And I always find it's good to be a little nervous before you do everything, so you can kind of like, okay, let me see how I can break this tension like in me, like with a couple things. And once you find that your stride, then you kind of like on it. So you have once you've done it enough, you have your typicals that you know will work.
Yeah.
All you need is the stuff that will help you get like through the night, the rest of the night.
Right.
You know.
So when you're in the middle of doing your set, how do you choose, or is it the same kind of thing? You're reading the room. Like, I'm going to stay on this song for 30 seconds, or I'm going to stay on it for a minute and a half. Like, is it like you can feel the energy shift and you're like, ooh, I better drop something else in because I'm going to lose them.
Right.
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 So, but I mean, there's probably sometimes though you're like, I don't care because this section in the song is too good. I can't not play it.
Yeah.
I have to play it.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
In the beginning, I'm a real stickler in the beginning of my parties, and for me to be in control and for me to set the tone, because I know where I'm going. You don't know where I'm going.
Right.
And I just kind of like try to set the tone, and that helps me get my rhythm. And usually what I do is, as I'm perusing the crowd, I always try to like pick different like pockets and see, as long as somebody's shaking their head, I know I'm doing a job, and I'm gonna get to everybody eventually.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of setting it up, and then I like to try to set my own tone, because you know what I mean? Everybody thinks they know music because they're in their car and they're dancing. But anytime someone comes to me with a song, I'm like, okay, well, that's fine then. I said, but have you tried it like anywhere else?
Yeah.
And they go, well, no. I was like, that's the key. Just because you like it does not mean that everyone's gonna like it or that it's gonna translate like to everybody.
Right.
It doesn't automatically mean that. Yeah, there's tons of things that get me going. Like even the stadium, everybody thinks a DJ's playing his favorite music when there's no DJ that's a good DJ that's doing that.
Of course.
No one's playing their favorite music when they get out. It's like I tell people all the time. It's like if I was playing my favorite music, it'd be nothing but Tribe Called Quest and then like all this at the stadium. So it wouldn't sound the same, and you wouldn't be stretching people out. But people think that, like, no, because most of the time when people come to you with music, it's their favorite music.
Of course.
So that doesn't do you any good. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not the same.
It is
you know
not the same.
That's not what a DJ does.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the first misnomers that people think, oh, he's just playing what he wants to hear. Like, no. And you'll be able to tell if a DJ's playing what he wants to hear only because no one else in the party will be having fun.
But the DJ. But the DJ's having a great time.
Yeah, he'll be having a great time.
I love this party.
I love this party.
This is
like,
great.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
This is great. But everyone else is like,
what is he playing?
What is he
like,
doing?
what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean?
Do you ever get that call that they're just like, we want you to come and we want you to just do what you want to do?
Yeah, most of the time. Because
they get to know your vibe, right?
And usually another thing I ask people when they call me is like, where'd you hear me? And who? Because I'll either look for a referral.
Yeah.
And I say, well, you heard. They say I heard you play. So once you can tell me why you heard me play. Then I know exactly what I did, and then I don't need to ask any other questions after that.
Got it.
Because I know what I did that day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So I mean, but it's also I love an open canvas, and then you just come in. I love those because then I could just come in, and those people that just give you like license to just do what it is that you do, which is that's how it should be. But in the days now where everybody has Spotify.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks, you
They're-
know what I mean? So it's like a gift and a curse. You know what I mean?
it's like,
And everybody thinks, oh, can you just put on Spotify? Like, I can't
it's
translate Spotify through my DJ equipment. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Spotify doesn't want it that way.
Let me give you my playlist.
Yeah, no. It
No.
doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. It doesn't work that way. Spotify doesn't work that way. Apple Music doesn't want it to work that
No.
way.
No.
You know what I mean? They want you to just keep downloading their music. They
Of
don't
course.
and streaming.
Yeah.
They don't want it to. They don't want a DJ to like play it. No, that's
Yeah.
not what they.
That's not how it's designed.
That's not how it's designed at
No,
all.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Let me check in here. Let me see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. So Carolyn says she loves the story of how you got started.
Oh, thank you, Carolyn.
All right. Barry's saying NBA and Olio. Okay, Barry. I don't know NBA and Olio.
Oh yeah.
So Barry's asking you, can you play Champions after every Dodger win?
Oh, I think that would cause that would cause quite a stir. If they don't hear "I Love LA" after a win.
Yeah, I know.
they
It's
going-
not. It's a thing.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
like a quick like
Yeah.
like
Hey,
scratch. Yeah, like
What
yeah.
is he sick? What's wrong with
Yeah.
him?
I can remember years ago one of the managers came with that idea and everyone was like, you can't like do that.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to change it like, no, you cannot.
Yeah.
You
There's
cannot
things that
do it.
there's
Oh.
like things. So since we're getting there now, we're getting to the Dodgers.
Okay.
So, how did that whole thing come about? And was there someone already DJing before you got there?
Okay.
And were they there for a while, or like kind of what? How did that transition happen? How did you get the job?
Okay.
And I also want to like hear from you that first moment, the first day game or night game, the first one, like what that felt like and how was right? But before we get to that, so tell me, how did the Dodgers thing come about?
Okay, so in 2009, I had a friend. His name's Sean Smith. He grew up with me in Pasadena,
Okay.
and we both live out in the IE. And so, he called me one day. He's like, man, and he's always been in catering. And he called me one day. He's like, man, I got an opportunity to take this job. I want to sit down and talk to you about it. And so I'm the godfather to his daughter. So we always talk about different things when we grew up. And so he's telling me about this job. He's like, I got an opportunity to be a catering manager in Dodger Stadium. Like, should I take this job? So he started. I was like, hey, you should take that job. I was like, it's a great job, great opportunity. I had no idea it was going to be an opportunity for me.
Right.
So at that time, the Dodgers were horrible. They hadn't been to the playoffs. And so he became the catering manager. So at Dodger Stadium, there's 9 floors.
Right.
And each floor, Levy Restaurants controls the catering.
Okay.
And each level has a different manager in charge.
Okay.
So my friend, he became the manager of what's called the Dugout Club, the very, very bottom of Dodger Stadium where all the actors go, whoever has season tickets. So they usually go 2 hours before the game. They have dinner, and then they can also go out to their seats. There's a bar, a club area. It's really dope. So when they got back into the playoffs, when they first traded for Manny Ramirez,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of hype, he wanted to switch it up. So he asked me, would you come in and DJ before the game? So I said, yeah. So I did it the first 3 series. The first series with the Cubs, I think they won. But I would come in, and I'm just set up in the corner. I'm just playing music. So now all these different actors are coming in, and they enjoying the vibe. And I would play music up until national anthem, and then I would just enjoy the game. I would sit at the bar.
Okay.
I would eat prime rib. It was just like the best food like ever.
Yeah.
And then if there was seats available, we'd go out to and watch the game. So I did that like 3 games in a row. Got paid pretty good.
Okay.
And then there was another DJ that was working other levels at Dodger Stadium. And so word got around that I was pretty good. So one of the other managers went to my friend and said, hey, can I get your DJ's contact? And so I think this other guy, I don't even know what his name was. He was becoming like a prima donna because they wanted you to do it. He wanted more money, and they wanted you to do it with 1 parking space.
Okay.
And so they asked me, could I get 3 more DJs? And so I was like, yeah. So I called up some of my friends. I told them what the get down was. And I said, just meet me outside the stadium with your equipment. We're going to put it on a trailer, and then with the 1 parking space, we're just going to flip the trailer up behind my Suburban. And that's how we're going to get by with one parking space.
Okay.
So I brought them in. They were on reserve level and in other spots. And same thing. We played until
So everybody's on their floor.
yes, everybody's on their floor
doing their thing
doing
for
their
that
thing pregame.
pregame.
And then they come down and we all hang out at the dugout club.
Okay.
And so in the dugout club, there's a party after. So the dugout club stays open an hour after the game. So I'm playing like music afterwards. I'm meeting all the bartenders. I'm meeting all the security people as I'm going through because I'm getting there on time. I'm making good relationships with everybody.
Yeah, right.
And it's just a party afterwards. Players start coming in. I met Tiger Woods.
Okay.
I started meeting. I met the Aaron Brockovich story, the original attorney, his family.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're friends to this day. I was doing parties in Malibu like for them.
Oh,
so I started
man.
doing all these cross different parties.
Right.
And the Dodgers, they keep bringing me back. I come back for opening day next year. Same thing, playoffs again next year. And the Dodgers hear about me. And they want me to do this thing called Dodgers Under the Lights, which is when the fans come in and they pay for the experience when the Dodgers are out of town. So they go on the field.
Okay.
And they take the tour. So I'm on the dugout just spinning. I think I did it a couple times in the winter because I can remember being really, really cold. So I'm doing that. So now I'm working for Levy and I'm working for the Dodgers. I'm just setting myself. I'm meeting, like I said, I'm making relationships with everybody in Levy, everybody in Dodgers.
Right.
They're seeing me navigate through everything, not a problem. My main goal was to always be on time.
Yeah.
So because as that, you just want to be where no one's looking for you. You want to get there early enough so you can get set up, stay out of everybody's way.
And you're there.
And you're there.
They can
and
count
like,
on
and they come up and look and they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's there. He's good.
He's
He's
good.
set
He's
up.
good.
No problem.
No muss, no fuss. We're not getting any
Yeah.
complaints. Everything
Yeah.
is rolling.
Yeah.
So, 1 year, I do a Dodgers event, and then they asked me to do the Christmas party. And so I'm doing the Christmas party 1 year, and they're doing a scavenger hunt out on the field. And this is right when the DJ horn, the burr, 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 first come out. So I'm playing that as people are doing. So this one guy walks up to me at the end of the show. He says, "Hey, I like that sound effect. Could you exchange information with me and send me that sound effect?" So I go, "Sure." So probably some months later, I'm on vacation in New York with my family, and he emails me, and he says, "Can you send me that sound effect?" So I send him that sound effect. And a bunch of others, and I asked him, "Are there any openings?" And he says, "As a matter of fact, we're looking for a DJ. Are you interested?" So I'm like, "Yeah." So I was like, I shut down my vacation. I started. I contacted with my website guy. I was like, "Look, I need to formulate I need to make this all Dodgers, like blue everything, all the pictures I have from meeting everybody at Dodger Stadium. I need to just like make this like real Dodger friendly." And so they set up an interview like 2 weeks later. So I get back in town and I go to the interview and I'm just like nervous because I'm like, this is like my dream. I didn't really realize it was my dream because I used to tell myself I wanted to play the music here, but I never thought it would turn into that.
Yeah.
So I go to the interview and I meet with this guy Harlan at the time, whom I had seen walking around Dodger Stadium. He had seen me. So it wasn't like we were strangers. And so they asked me these questions like, okay, what would you do, this, that, and we want you to go home, work all these scenarios, like bottom of the ninth, the team is down, what would you do, blah, blah, blah. So
okay.
I go home and I'm like nervous because I'm like, I really want this job. I really want this job. So I'm thinking all these different things through, and I come back 2 weeks later, prepare for all these answers. And immediately they sit me down, and I'm waiting for them to ask me, so I can answer all these questions. They never ask me. They just say, well, look, we've been seeing you around here. You know the vibe of the stadium. We won't give you the job all the time. We just want to make wait. We just want to make the sound new. We don't want to sound like any other stadium. And Harlan was like this rockabilly dude who used to wear these thick creepers with these big suits, but he also loved hip hop.
Okay.
And so as soon as he told me he wanted to make it sound newer and fresher, I was like, okay, I understand that. I can do that.
Yeah.
So I got the gig. Now my first event there was the baseball classic, which is 2 college teams.
Okay.
And so I went in with my mixer, and at the time, Dodgers used this thing called Click Effects, which Click Effects is a program that allows you to fade in and fade out between like music. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go in there with my mixer and knock it out, but it was so hard. That's when I knew how much hard the job was, being able to work these scenarios of batters coming up, being ready for home run songs. And then the producer, who's the same guy who, him telling me, well, we need this, we need that. So I used my first season as basically a learning season where I came in, I knew what worked that they were using because I didn't want to come in and in shock.
Yeah, you can't. You have to slowly.
So I had to slowly.
Yeah,
because first of all, and not to be, everybody's looking at me, I'm black. They're thinking he's about to come here and start playing all this hip hop, which I could have because Harlan gave me the green light. But I knew how to navigate through it and take the advice from my producer who incorporated the rock, who I already knew what songs was. And so you have to learn the element of the script and how things follow, because every DJ thinks they're a good DJ till you go into sports, and now there's a piece up on Time of the Sorter, and then you got to play a song after that, and there's an organ player behind you, and you have to work with this person, and then there's a batter coming up. Oh, and we just hit a home run, and now this is a tense. So you have to learn all these different.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And until you sit in that seat, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know what's going on, and then there's 10 games in a row sometimes, and the crowd is now out of it, or it's like, and there's 50,000 like people, and so you got bosses, and then everyone's saying you should do this, you should do that. So you quickly learn who to listen to, to take the advice, because you know what works. And so what I did was I came in, and so my first year I said, okay, the best impact I can make is in the pregame mixes when the players are there and the fans are coming in. I'm going to do what's normally done with a little couple of twists until I figure out my rhythm. But I'm not going to bring my mixer in. I'm just going to use clicks because it already had all the music in it already.
Right.
I'm just going to put my mixes in. So I know I can make an impact there. So immediately I went home and I made all these mixes because I really realized quickly I did not want to mix live there because there was too much going on. I tried it a couple times, but I had players trying to get in contact with me. I have to go over like the script, so it's impossible to mix live. And then I'm also nervous because I'm like, is this song clean? Is this that? You know what I mean? Does it say? Because everybody's looking for like all these different elements. The writers are there to write. If you don't make that, that's one of the first things I did too. I made friends with the writers because if you do something wrong, the writers at that time, they're bored. They will lambaste you. They will write and make it seem like you intended to do that. So I quickly made friends with every writer that was there. And when I first went in there, like people weren't speaking to me. It was like a lot, you know what I mean? Because they're like, well, who's this
that
guy? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
But I quickly became friends with my producer who kind of gave me his insight. And I remember after my first year, well, the first couple of homestands, PR came to me and they said, hey, Garrett Anderson really likes what you do. He liked to know if he can get some mixes from you. I said, yeah, sure. And he said, how much? I said, I don't want any money. I just want to meet him.
Okay.
And at the time, the DJ and the players was hands off. No communication whatsoever. So they said, okay. So I went home, and all I did was just take the mixes I had already made, and I put them on a CD, and I took them to them. So they said, be here at this time. So I get there, and they say, okay, come down. So now I'm in the dugout, and there's nobody around. And the first player I see is like James Loney. So James Loney walks up to me, and then Garrett Anderson walks in. And we start talking a little bit, and then I think I asked James Loney to take the picture. So I get a picture with James Loney and like Garrett Anderson. And I'm still fresh and new. I'm like in awe. I'm in like the dugout. And so I give them the CDs, and then I come back up to my booth. And so PR walks up to me in the middle of the game, and they give me an envelope. And an envelope had $500 in it. And so all the media is looking over here, and everybody I'm working with is looking like at me. And so everybody goes, well, what's in the envelope? I said, well, I gave Garrett Anderson some mixes because he liked what I did. And everybody's like, you can say it's kind of this like funny reaction. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, okay, well, this is actually like pretty cool. But I kind of contained myself. So it's like I went on. So I told him, I said, look, I want to give him some more because I realized that Garrett Anderson and James Loney like old school hip hop. So I was like, look, I want to give him some more mixes, but I don't want any money. I'm just going to give them to you.
Right. So
I came back the next day, the same thing, but then the same thing happened. Another envelope with $500 in it. So now the media is looking at me, and like my people, and it's like, okay, like they're still trying to figure out like exactly what's going on. Like, why is this so different to the players from what they're seeing? But I knew what what I was doing that was different, and the players knew what I was doing was different.
Right.
And so later on, the Yankees came to town that same season, and they wrote an article in New York that said the best music at any stadium is like Dodger Stadium. And this is my first year there, probably like 3 months like in. And so the producer that hired me, he announces it over the like thing.
That's
and
huge.
It was super, super huge. I'm like, you know what I mean? For like the Yankees to come to town, because I'm
Yeah.
still learning. I'm still, trust me, I'm in there nervous every day trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Like, hopefully this song is this, that. I mean, every inning is like pressure packed for me because I still haven't gotten my rhythm yet. I'm still trying to figure out, okay, when PR contacts me about player music, how I'm gonna like get this done. Half the time, they're getting the songs wrong, so I gotta figure it out on myself. Because every rapper at the time is Little This or Young That, and then like the songs are all like misspelled, so they don't know. So they're just dispatching like PR to like give me. So I had to do this puzzle like every day.
You're like, okay, he probably means this.
Right, he probably means this.
Probably...
and so they don't know. I'm like, man, you can't play this song because I'm also the number one thing that I was told at the time was just stay out of the newspaper. Like, just stay out of the newspaper.
Yeah.
And so I'm every day it's like this new thing for me, but I'm just like, I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to be doing this.
Right.
And like my family's all proud and everything. And so I just developed my rhythm over the years on how to like get it done. And that same year that I came in, first off, Harlan got fired. The guy who brought me in.
Who brought you in? You're like,
he gets fired. So I'm like,
what does this mean now?
What does this mean?
Yeah.
And then I do another Christmas party, and I see Damien there, the producer. He gets fired shortly after that. And so I'm like, I'm definitely
you're
outta
next.
Here. I'm like, this is the only people that brought me.
Yeah, like
brought me in.
I got okay. Then
like,
who's
and
gonna...
so I'm just kind of like sitting around like waiting. And then my boss at the time, who was still my boss, he came to me and said, "Yeah," he said, "although they let those guys go, we really like what you did this season." And so I'm like, okay. But now I'm wondering how much of a covering I have over me, because where I had someone that was telling me just we want to sound new.
Right.
Now you get into the genre of when everyone was vying to be in charge of the Dodgers. So you got the Magic Johnson group, you got this group, you got that group, and I've never told this story, but so
exclusive.
Yes,
right here, right here. You're hearing it.
So over the years, so I've always been a forward thinker in my business. Like, I'm always like thinking how I can like be value added. So one year, probably my second or my third, I went to PR and I said, look, why don't I pay for my own ticket to come down to spring training to talk to the players, because you guys have a lot of trouble with them explaining to them why why don't I come down? And so they thought about it. They said, okay. So I didn't ask any of my bosses or whatever. I just went through PR because I didn't want to start this whole paperwork trail of like why you can.
It just gets complicated.
It gets complicated. And so they said, yeah. So I bought my own ticket. Okay. And I went down to and this is right when Camelback Ranch had opened up.
Okay. Yeah. Right
at the beginning. It was either the second, probably the second year.
Okay.
So I go in and I meet with PR at the time, and so they said, okay. So they show me where the players' dugout is, and it's funny because this is when I first not first met Tommy sort of face to face, but I'm in the locker room at Camelback Ranch. It's just me, so I'm in there taking everything all in because there's either a game going on or there's training going on, and then the door opens up and Tommy Lasorda walks in,
and it's just him.
It's just him. And it's just me, and so I'm standing like.
All right.
Probably 5 yards away from Tommy, and Tommy just kind of looks at me, and he looks me up and down, and he just walks off. He don't say anything to me, and so I'm like,
okay,
all right, okay. So the players then start to come in. So at the time, I start pulling up a meeting, everybody start talking, and they really vibe with me because they're like, oh yeah, because I'd already met. You know what I mean? Most of the players, and that's when me and Matt Kemp got really close, and me and Andre E3 got really close. And it's funny because when you go into the locker room, there's the players doing their thing, playing ping pong, regular. Everybody's regular. They get undressed, they're walking back and forth, and there's just this pack of media that's just standing over in the corner. looking for their spot to go and talk to one of the players,
Uh-huh.
and you just see them there with their pen and pad. But then they see me talking to all the players, and so as I'm walking out, a lot of the media came like, "Hey, like, how come they're so nice with you?" I said, "Well, I'm just talking to them about music and not trying to like get into their like personal like business."
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And over my years of going to Canada, I learned a lot about the media, because sometimes like there would be like, I developed like really good relationships with like Matt Kemp, Andre Etiquette, to where it's like when I didn't come, they would get pissed off, like, "Severe, why didn't you come down?" The players are all pissed off because they don't want to talk to us, and we start talking about music, and they just mush us in the face. So it's like,
yeah.
you know,
like,
so it was like a ritual. It was like a ritual where
yeah.
like I can remember spending time at Andre Ethier's locker room. He's just going through his iPad, and I like this, I like that, I like that. You know what I mean? It just became like this like really
That's
dope
really cool.
meet and greet.
Yeah.
That they just became like used to. And then like after my first visit, PR, they don't walk around with me. I just do my own thing. You know what I mean? Like they know Severe's coming, so I just walk around, and I'm everywhere. I'm like, and then over the years, fans started recognizing me, and like different things would like. I mean, it just became this like really cool, like environment of music that they get away from. And everyone has a different way of contacting me about like their changes and different things. But the story, it's funny because I've never told a story. The year that everyone was trying to become the owner or the ownership group, I go into this meeting. They call all of us out for this meeting, and there's this one head guy I seen him around the stadium, but he never really like said anything to me. I'm not gonna say his name. He never really said anything to me. So he comes in and he walks into this meeting, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna change things up. We don't play enough. We don't do enough this and all that." And I could tell he was trying to figure out like who I am, because he kept trying to. Because there's all these Latin people, and there's like this one black dude like right here, and he starts talking about the music, and I'm just like looking at him and listening, and he's still trying to figure like who I
are you?
And he's saying, we're gonna change things up a little bit, and I know he was trying to get to the point where he would say like there's too much like hip hop being played. I know he really wanted to say it, but so he says like, "Yeah, we're gonna change it." I said, "So," and I raised my hand. I said, "So you're gonna tell the players that they can't have like
their
hip hop, their songs?" And he goes, "What? The players still pick their own music?" And I'll go, like, "Yeah, like the players like pick their own music. It's not." And they asked me who I was. I'm the DJ, like, you know what I mean, like, and you could tell it's just he just came in this meeting like just so unprepared, and was trying to make like a statement.
This is what we're gonna do.
This is what we're gonna do without even knowing, because me and this other guy looked at each other like, "You're not gonna tell the players that." And so he legitimately. So the next day, he gave me a list of what he wanted to play, like during pregame, and so I was like, "This is not gonna work." Because it was a lot of Frank Sinatra. It was just like, and I'm talking like at the same time where the players are like warming up,
right?
And so
they want to hear what they want to hear.
They want to hear what they want to hear. And so I'm going outside. I told my boss, I was like, "You gonna do this?" He said, "Do it." I was like, "All right." So immediately, Matt Kemp was looking up at like me like,
"What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing?"
What is
I just
like?
I mean, they were like, because this is their time to like warm
like
up.
They want to get in their zone.
They want to get in the zone. And so normally there's no fans in there, so it's like you got to give them like their music.
Yeah.
And I could tell Matt was like pissed. He was looking at me like, "Man, what do you like?" And I was just like, and so we did it, I think 2 days in a row. And then luckily the announcement came that Magic Johnson's group had gotten the bid. And so all that went out the window. But it was just so funny to me and some of the people I work with that it's just like you get these people who just want to come in and make these decisions without like really knowing, first of all, what's going on behind the scenes,
right?
Before you'd even say like that. Because it's number one, it's like, okay, you think that the players don't like hip hop? Like, no matter what color they are, they like hip hop. Everybody has, and that's what I learned quickly. I learned my rhythm and my plan. I don't have to do new hip hop because the players pick enough of that. I let them have that. I don't even now. I give it to them in their pregame,
right? Because
that's what they like want to hear. But I also mix it up. My formula became real quick for my pregame mixes there's no old music played because I never want you to get out of your car and hear what you heard in your car in the stadium.
Yeah.
So I'm always 6 to 8 months ahead of time on my record pools, getting things that people don't really know. I've learned what the consistent beat is that brings everybody together, no matter what age group you're in.
Yeah.
And it's usually that good house beat, like right around
where's
112, 122 BPM.
Okay.
And it's a steady thing. And I also know that to use horns, like percussion, and a good like vocal behind it. I also learned how to pick songs that don't have a lot of lyrics in them because that's kind of where you can get in trouble, but still keep you along that same beat. If people come to the stadium a lot, and I had a guy tell me this like this year. He's like, I noticed you like a lot of house. I was like, yeah. I said, because house is a consistent beat. And really and truly, I'm just a background to people having fun. I'm not there to really, now when you get in the game, that's when the signature. But when you're just there, getting set in your seat and getting comfortable, I'm just at a background that all I want you to do is just keep tapping your foot. That's all I want you to do. Yeah. I don't want you to really focus in. Now, I do get constant requests for like, what's that song? And like Shazam all the time. But that's my job. But I never want people to get out of their car and hear the same thing that they heard on the radio. Because then I'm not doing a job because then it's already old to you. Exactly. You never hear anybody say that this music is so old. And I always tell people always say, well, why don't you put some 80s in? I said, well, look, I'll do an 80s mix that I'll play every now and then. Yeah. But the minute I put an 80s song in with the new mix, it's now old because people don't realize I have to be here sometimes 10 days in a row. So I need to have 10 different mixes to go through. And I like to save the radio stuff for the end game because I need 30 seconds of it and that's it. But I never want you to get out of your car and hear the same thing that you heard on the radio. Right. I remember when I discovered like a lot of the Bruno Mars songs, I played them a year before they were like hits. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. And so that's what I try to do. Yeah. That's my formula. And I will make an all 80s mix. I do like a yacht rock mix. But I play them strategically on Sundays during the day. Right. So but I'm always consistent with the sound and then the beat. And then people don't realize, people say, you don't play enough old school. I was like, yeah, management, they want it to sound like fresh and new. Right. And then our sound system, old school doesn't really translate good out of there. It gets like tamped down coming out of those speakers. So like the old Beatles and Rolling Stones,
doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good. It sounds so mashed up. Yeah. Now what I do look for is new remixes of the song that just have a bottom on them. Okay. To give it a little more to come out. So that's kind of been my thing. It's like if I'm gonna do something like that, I look for something where someone did a little more set drum on it and added a little more bottom to it.
Then you can use.
Then you can use it. It's taken me. This has been my formula probably for like the last 6 years. Once I got my legs and I was comfortable and I knew no one was really on my back about what I had to play. Right. And as long as I please the players, and then the dope thing about the players is whenever the old players I know to come back and I go down and talk to them on the field, they always bring all the other players over to introduce themselves. And when I first met Betts and David Price 2 years ago, they said, yeah, man, everybody around the league talks about your music and they can't wait to come here and play here or be here because you have like the best vibe of anything. He said no matter what team they're on, they can't wait to come here. That
is a huge compliment. Yeah. That's really great.
Yeah, and for me to every time go down, like when Matt comes back and then he brings the players over, it's like this is the guy.
This is the guy's telling you about it.
And then so it's like I have all these other players. Man. And I've even heard other players doing interviews at their stadium talk about like Tommy Pham talked about how like the experience.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, sorry, Siri. Tommy Pham talked about how he said the Dodgers haven't figured out the best out of everybody. It's like the environment that you want to be in the stadium, and it's I do know I'm good at what I do, and I kind of like really take my time to learn to search for music. It was harder this year because of COVID and nobody was putting anything out, so I'm still searching for like a couple things, but it was a little bit easier because I had before going into last season. I had found so many gems, but there was nobody at the stadium. So I'm kind of like recycling them.
Right. Well, no one was there.
Nobody was there. So it's like I'm recycling them. Yeah. And I'm really into like finding like really heavy horn stuff like right now. Right. But that's just like my formula. I try to make it. My game is different because I'm more of a of as opposed to like a basketball DJ or an NFL DJ, where it's just constant like noise. I have breaks, which you'll know as composing music.
Right.
Like with Dieter behind me on the keyboard, he's a great lay-in to me, and I'm a great lay-in to him. Like, we both know music, so I know when he's gonna step in. I know when I'm gonna step out. I just come in and look at the script and see what we have going on, like for the day, and then kind of like paint the picture like out of that. Sometimes it does become. You do kind of get some memory, like I can tell on the days when I'm gonna just be a little bit like off, but it's quickly. I know how to snap my way in and out of it, but I actually need the players. Sometimes I need the players to like give me the energy. When we're doing good, it's easy. Yeah. But when we're getting blasted, it's hard. Man. I'm the only person that has to always like kind of like be on. Right. Like, because I can feel when we do something bad and the energy just goes out.
Right. And you have to generate the energy. You got to be the one that kickstarted.
Yeah. And you also have to know like how to not pump the other team up. But like pump, like keep your energy there. Yeah. So if people really like listen to my flow, I always do an old school song every night, and it's usually right before the other teams come off the bat. And but I have different. I always dedicate if someone's birthday or someone passed away, and it doesn't matter. I'll switch up. It'll be funk. It could be rock. It could be whatever will translate. But I always try to make sure I pay homage to everything there. And then I'm listening for. I also have a producer in my ear that he's calling video, so I got to know what to come out to this video. Right. I have to kind of like know what batter song is coming up, and I try to make my songs blend together. Like if I'm using a song and my batters, I know which batter's coming up. I'll try to match my tempos, like so it's not such a hard transition. And I hardly ever try to run hip hop into hip hop. So that's when I kind of like evaluate what I have going on in the next inning. You know what I mean?
So sometimes players get pulled out.
Yeah.
And then you gotta like, they're just they swapped him out and they put in a different batter. Now I gotta like adjust.
Right. There's so many I have to know. I almost have to think like a coach. Because
he's probably gonna do this.
The pitcher's about to get yanked, so then I gotta grab my binoculars and I gotta look and see who's warming up.
Oh man, right.
And so I'm like, okay, it's either Kenley or it's Trinan.
Yeah.
So I have to be in contact because I kind of have to know because the producer doesn't. Although he's supposed to know that, I'm really the one that's in tune with that because I have the music, and I kind of have to let him know because if he goes to a video, I'm like, no. Yeah, this is the first year that every pitcher has had. Every pitcher this year has a walk-up song. Wow. This is the first year that's ever happened to me. Usually, that's more of a filler time where we can do a video.
Right.
But now every pitcher has a song. Yeah. So that's why I have to kind of like know. And I can kind of tell, okay, this is a pitch count. This might come up. So I pick and choose my spots. Okay, I need a filler song here to get to this song when we announce them. And I never try to start that song early because I know it's still they want to hear their name and then their song. Because if I'm playing a song already, the fans don't really know that that's their song.
Right.
So there's a lot of things you have to be aware of and going into.
Yeah, I mean, the position you're in as a DJ there is unlike any other DJ position anywhere.
Yeah.
Because of all these factors and all these people that you got all these people in your ear, and a lot of them don't know, like creatively, really understand what it is that you do.
Right.
Yet they think they know,
they think they do,
and they're gonna give you notes, and you're just like, but that's not gonna. So it's like you've really created like it's gonna be difficult whenever you decide you're done, right? However many years from now, someone that's got to come in that spot, it's a problem.
Yeah. Whenever I try to explain to anybody, they're like,
which is a good thing for you.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Because you've made it like, I'm not really replaceable because like I've got this thing that you've developed your spot, you know. And with Dieter, with you, you guys are such a great team.
Yeah.
Because we're always loving all the little nuggets he throws in, like, you know, the Gilligan's Island 3-hour tour.
Yeah.
We're like, 3-hour tour. Beth was just like the first one to go, I know what he's doing.
Yeah. And his mind is crazy.
He's constantly like, wait, what's he playing? Oh, it's that 80s. Oh, it's funny because the dude just struck out or whatever. Like, he's throwing in his little like comedy within his music choices. Yeah. And it's funny. So like we'll watch we've got Spectrum, so we're watching all the games, and then we're listening to
Yeah,
Joe
listen to
and
everything.
Oral
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes they're like, well, why did he play that song? We don't know. And we're like screaming at the
right,
TV.
right, yeah.
Because of this,
Yeah.
and then they finally like catch on.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. You have to know your music and
Yeah.
really have to stay like in tune. Dieter's great like that. And we usually have one meeting
Okay.
like right before the game, right before the season starts. He said, "Hey, I thought about it." I was like, "Yeah, it's cool." And we
Yeah.
kind of like know each other's rhythm. I use hand signals like to let him know when I'm kind of through, and then
That's
we kind of like
great.
communicate like
Yeah.
But yeah, we really have each other's back and like cover different things because sometimes he needs to step in if I'm like in between like picking.
Yeah,
a
it's
song,
like, oh, something happened.
Yeah.
I gotta like.
and he notices, and
It's
so
like,
I know the time to listen to him and look back and see, and then we go. So we're a great we're a
Yeah.
great team. Even Nancy that did it before. I love when Nancy was there, but I used to have to carry a lot more when Nancy was there because she was just more like for the organ filler. Dieter
Right.
is the prompts and like everything, and so when we're on, it's
magic.
it's magic, and like no one knows it like but me and him.
Yeah.
and we're always like, I see you, I see you.
Yeah,
So
I got
it's
it.
like,
I know what you did. Yeah, thank you,
So
thank
it's
you.
like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's like magic, man, and it's like
What a
sometimes
unique thing,
coming
man.
into it, I'm already tired.
Yeah.
Like before like a homestand starts because I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Ooh.
like I got to get my mind like like ready for it, and like it's easy if it's like a rival coming in and we're going for something, but when it's like
Okay.
a team that's like at the bottom
Yeah.
and you're like, how am I gonna get up for like these games don't they, although they mean something, they don't really, and it takes a couple innings to get your rhythm back, because after you're gone for a long time, like this one coming up is just a 3-game, and then we're going to All-Star break. It's gonna take a minute to get back into
Right.
rhythm. Sometimes it takes a while to get back in rhythm and be prepared, and then have your mind going to not do the same thing, and to I always remember what I played the days before, so it's like I try not to step on and play some of the same things, but then sometimes you have to go to it if it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's different. It's a whole other preparing. A lot of DJs say, I want your job. Like,
That's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is.
Yeah,
It's not what you think
yeah,
it
it
is.
seems so easy. Like,
Yeah.
no.
It's the thing, because it's like, even like you said, people give me, if it starts raining, of course, everybody in the woodwork, you should play this, and you should play that. Like, yeah, that's easy,
Yeah.
low hanging, like fruit.
Yeah, it's like,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, and if people says, some people walk into this, like, I got this song you should play. I was like, well, you know what? I need like 80. Like, one does me like no good today. I need 80 songs.
Yeah.
Like, do you have 80 like that?
Right.
That's gonna work. And I said it needs to work for white, black, Latin.
Right.
It has to work for this age group. It can't say this. It can't say that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it has to move and pump the crowd. You gotta know when you can insert it.
Exactly.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Let me see. We got any questions in here? All right, Neil Walker. What's up, Neil? He says, late to the show, but happy I'm here now. These are great lessons, says Jimmy. Great guest. Cecile says, glad I got to tune in. So cool. And she likes the t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Great. Wow. Time is just flying. All right, let me show some pictures here. So here you are, if you want to give me that. Here's some shots. Here you are with Justin Turner.
Mm-hmm. That's my guy.
So was this during Fan Fest?
That was during
or-
Fan Fest 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So how many people showed up for Fan Fest that
Ooh,
year?
that year, that was one of the first years we moved back up to the top of the park. And I want to say they said there was 10,000, 15,000 that day. It was crazy.
Wow. Were you at that one?
We were there for that.
You and Miko?
Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
crazy.
Down.
That one was crazy.
Yeah.
That one was crazy.
I think so.
Right. I think this is an earlier shot.
That's Fan Fest. That's Fan Fest, but that's like 2018 or 17.
Okay.
That's probably the year after Vince Scully retired. So I
Okay.
remember. Yeah. And I remember, I forgot who. I think I was talking to David Vassay or something on that pick, because a lot of people pick up that pick. But yeah, that's like before the season starts in January.
Gotcha. Now here you are. Now this is at your studio.
That's our first studio before we moved into what's now Rose City Sound. But that was first. When we
Gotcha.
first started. That was probably right in the beginning of the pandemic when we were doing food giveaways, because that's the foundation in this together shirt. So that's
Gotcha.
when we were just doing a bunch of food giveaways, and then just as going live and doing a bunch of stuff. So yeah,
Right. This is your office view.
that's the office view. Yeah. And so that first computer ahead of you, that's Click Effects, the one with all the red spots on it. So that's
Okay.
telling you songs that you played.
right.
And then the instrument right at top, that's the instant replay which that's what I play. I love a layout, and used to do like the chants, and then my DJ controller, and Dieter probably took that picture.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's like on the 50,000 night. That's
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts. Yeah, that's right when that's the first time I met him.
Okay.
And we were talking music,
right?
And him becoming a DJ and different things, and then him also explained to me like how he liked the music here and like how he couldn't wait to like how he's happy to be here. Mookie's a solid cat.
Yeah,
he's a real solid cat.
Really cool. Okay, we got another group of shots here. Okay, this also.
Yeah, that's FanFest.
Is that same year?
That's
probably?
that same year. Yeah,
okay.
With that JT pick. Just getting ready, like pregame.
Right.
It's different because FanFest, I signed a lot of autographs, which is still crazy to me.
Hey, you're a celebrity.
Yeah, it's great.
That's how it works. Okay, so where's this? What's happening?
Okay, so this is at this party for the Insomnia Games, a Christmas party.
Okay.
And it's at this crazy, I want to say haunted mansion up in the Hollywood Hills that has like all these different like structures. We did this crazy kind of burlesque night. There was a lady like coming out of a bucket. It was like a crazy night. But I'm up in like this hallway, just me in this eerie like hallway, like trying to DJ. I can't even really see the crowd.
Oh, that's tough.
Oh,
right?
no, it's definitely tough.
Like,
I don't know what's going on.
I can't even like read this
Yeah, I
room.
can't really. It's like a pool. It was crazy. It was
Right.
crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, that was one of my good nights. My good friend Melissa Kobe took that picture. She just passed away. Yeah, man.
Now, so I'm scrolling through Instagram,
Uh-huh.
and I think this is the first shot on your Instagram page.
Oh wow.
So, what's the story behind this one?
I want to say that's at Mahari's. But the dope thing about the picture on my laptop
Okay.
with Jackie Robinson.
Right.
Okay, so going down into the dugout club, there's that big picture of Jackie Robinson. And so before I was the Dodger DJ, I came up with this idea, like I'm always thinking forward,
Yeah.
that I wanted to take a picture in front of that Jackie Robinson. And so one night after Dodgers Under the Lights, I had my son come, one of my buddies, and then I had my photographer come in as like a helper, and we did like this little small photo shoot in the stairwell. We weren't supposed to be there.
Okay.
Like I had this all worked out in my mind, and I wanted to get this pic, and that's how we got it done, like real quick. So we scrambled to break down from Dodgers Under the Lights, and then went in there and do it in there. And so we had set up lighting and everything.
Man.
So it was like my own little like impromptu like photo shoot. But that's like one of my favorite like pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's what became my kind of like my staple. I have that picture in my studio.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was
awesome.
an impromptu illegal
guerrilla
photo
style,
shoot.
like,
Guerrilla
just make it
style.
happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Corey Seager. Yeah.
Corey Seager.
Yeah. Corey Seager's one of my favorite people, and he doesn't like the limelight at all. But like when you talk to Corey, he's like, to me, Corey, I could tell last year from his first at bat that Corey was the key to winning the World Championship.
Yeah.
And even when I talk to Corey, I always talk to Corey. Corey's one of the first ones who sees me at FanFest. He always comes to me, always like gives me a hug.
Oh, man.
Corey's the dopest.
That's awesome.
We need him back if we're gonna do like
Yeah.
anything, because he's definitely the heartbeat. Because hands down, he is the Chris Taylor's clutch, but Corey is super clutch to me,
Right.
and one of the best people like on the team. I love Corey. Corey's
Oh,
dope.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great
Corey's
to
dope.
hear.
Yeah, Corey's
Yeah, I
super
mean, he
dope.
seems like just the nicest
Yeah,
guy.
he hates the limelight though.
Yeah.
He doesn't like interview. Oh, he hates.
Yeah.
Oh, he just wants to play baseball and that's it. He don't. Want to do interviews.
Right.
Corey's the best though.
That's funny. Okay, so yeah, also your view there.
That's like one of my favorite shots I get, like to like on a good summer night.
Yeah.
And then the energy's good, and we're just like right there. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, like okay, like
I was gonna say, I mean, you get to see that view how many times? 72?
81.
81.
81.
81 times a year,
81
guaranteed.
times a year.
You're gonna see that view.
I'm gonna see baseball.
And
like,
that's just got to be like.
Yeah, I had to remind myself to not take it for granted, like how much baseball I get to see and how many different things I get to go on, because it can become like a job. But I have to always tell myself like, nah. And then I do it more and more,
man.
where I kind of like settle in. I'm going, this is awesome. You know
This
what
is.
It's
I
really
mean,
awesome.
that's incredible.
Especially when I'm having a good night and I know what I'm doing 3 songs ahead, and I know what I've been doing is good on rhythm. It's like
The flow is
perfect.
there, and
Yeah.
it's just great. So fun. Okay, I got one more. One more group. Okay, so there you are.
Okay, so the great thing about that picture is, okay, so this is what I always know to like let your steps be your steps and God do your steps. Because I used to, when I first got there, and I kind of got the idea that I knew what I was doing was good, and I was trying to tell the reporter, you should do a story on me. You should do a story on me. And they were like, eh. So no one was really biting. So I was like, now in 2000, that story's in 2013.
Okay.
And an actual reporter from the LA Times approached me about doing a story. So he came in, and this is at a time where management had the idea that they wanted me to mix live. So I had some turntables in the control room inside where I was mixing live before the game.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so this guy does this story on me. It's like 2 days. And I'm thinking, okay, this story's going to come out and it's going to be on the sports page. Well, I'm driving in. It was playoffs time. I'm driving in, and my friend's mom is calling me. She's screaming on the phone. She's like, son, you on the front page of the LA Times? Da, 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 da. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you on the front page of the LA Times. So now my phone starts blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
My family starts calling me. I'm like, everybody from Pasadena. I'm like, what? So then I pull over. I didn't even pull over. I just kind of like went in. And it's funny because now all the reporters that I had asked to do a story on, they're kind of like looking at me. And this one reporter just pulled me to the side, Beth Harris. She's like one of the best. She always talked to me from the beginning. She's like, look, do you realize that you're on the front page, top of the fold? And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, top of the fold. That's
huge.
You can't get any.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the
That's
best.
the
She's
spot.
like, it's the top fold. And she said, and so I just, my grandmother, she goes and she buys all of them, and everybody still has it. And so, that's kind of sit back. It's like, man, when you just kind of like let back your steps go, like I wanted to be on the sports page, and then now I'm on the
You're on the front page.
And like players don't even make it on the front page.
Man.
So that's why I always look back to that. I have a plaque like of that. You know what I mean? Like coming up. So yeah,
I love that.
That was like one of my super like dope moments.
Man.
And that's actually so that's me spinning live inside that year, 2013.
Okay.
So yeah, my turntables were inside and
Gotcha.
just on the other side. So yeah.
That's when you were like, okay, I'm just gonna do everything. I'm
Yeah,
gonna bring
and
it all
even
in.
then it was hard because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get ready for a playoff game. So now I'm mixing live. I can't see what's going on. So it was it was super hard then.
Right.
But I mean, it was probably 5 years in.
Okay.
I kind of had an idea, but there's a lot of pressure, especially playoffs. There's so much pressure on me. I'm trying to think. It's just it's a lot, and I try to slow myself down and then take in these moments like this so that they don't just become like a blur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm trying to enjoy more of them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was a good year.
Also,
that's the same shot.
Yeah, good view.
And the funny thing is, so like the guy next to me, that's Patrick. He's the sound guy.
Okay.
And he was kind of like the DJ right before me, but he didn't want to DJ, and so he wanted just to be the sound guy.
Okay.
And so he opened up the spot for me. He didn't really like the position of doing it, and obviously at the time, it wasn't what I've made it to be now. Because any DJ would love to have just open license to do whatever you want to do, but for him, he had more of a person like on his back trying to make suggestions, so it wasn't as open as it is as I've made it. You made it. Yeah. But Patrick is great. He's helped me out with a lot. I learned a lot from him on the flows of the game and like different things. But he's the person who makes it sound so good at the stadium all the time.
That's awesome. Overhead view.
Yeah, that's early on too.
Yeah.
Clicks on like a laptop. Yeah, that's definitely early on.
Right.
Wow.
Awesome. All right. Go back to there we go. So, 2 more questions.
Yes.
If you hold on a second. I just don't want this to get. Okay. So 2 more questions for you. Oh,
Okay.
but wait. Let me just make sure there's no other questions. Ooh, Neil Walker's asking you, putting you on the spot, who's your favorite Dodger?
All time or right now? All time, Dusty Baker.
Okay. All time Dusty Baker.
All time, Dusty Baker.
Right now?
Right now, wow. Because we're so close, probably JT.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's like the heartbeat of the team.
Right.
Me and him communicate the most. Like I have the most license to do whatever I want with his music. Like we have like different hand signals and like different head nods.
Oh man, that's so cool. Like
Yeah.
he'll tell you like, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
feeling this.
he's telling me if I'm not doing it, you can change my song up. And
If I'm not happening, help me
then,
out.
And then he'll like look at me like,
it's not happening.
Go. And then I was just on him and his wife Courtney's podcast earlier this year.
Okay.
And he supports me a lot and gives me like a lot of like kudos. But yeah, probably like JT. It's funny
awesome.
because first time he texted me 2 years ago, he's like, "Hey, Severe, it's JT." I was like, "Justin Timberlake?" And then so he started like, so he said, "Ha ha ha," and then like he'll text me like 1, 2 in the morning, like, "Is this song a banger?" Like or nah. I'm like, man, like I just tell him like,
man,
yeah,
it's 1 a.m, man.
Yeah.
There's a question here.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite DJ?
Ooh, Jazzy Jeff, hands down.
Okay.
Jazzy Jeff.
There it is. No
Jazzy
hesitation. Boom.
Jazzy
Just
Jeff, hands down.
okay.
I model myself like after him. I love his when he does open format and the places he goes. Like I sit there like in awe, and I keep missing him at NAMM.
Oh right.
Like every year, like I'll go on Friday. He's there Saturday. I go on Saturday. He's there. He was Friday, or he's not coming.
Okay.
But I'm actually this close to sitting down and meeting with him on some different things, and like that's my ultimate like goal to go to his summer retreat where everybody goes and creates music. Oh, that's my
That's cool.
ultimate
Where
goal.
does he do that?
In his home in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He brings out all these different DJs and producers, and they just create and talk about like the different things that are going on in music, and
That's
it's just like a
awesome.
vibe where they just create.
So is it a thing that's like invitation only?
Invitation only.
Oh, man.
Invitation only.
Okay.
Invitation only.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yeah.
But that question was from Alarma62.
Okay.
She says
Go on.
hi.
Yeah.
And Miko is asking who your favorite artist is, and I'm assuming music artist because he's a drummer.
Okay. Hands down, it's gonna be Prince. Hands down, it's gonna be Prince. Hands down, Prince.
Yeah.
Hands down. Hands.
Yeah.
Down. I went to Paisley Park 2 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I just
Yeah.
I'm gonna go every year.
Okay.
Just to go and like take in everything. But yeah, hands down, Prince. I have some other people that are up there, but when it comes to like, you know what I mean, that I respect in that same realm. But yes, when it comes to things, it's Prince. So at my studio, I have what we call a goat wall, and it's Michael Jordan, Prince, Notorious Big, and then Jay Dilla. But then off on the other side, I have young Quincy Jones and then young Stevie Wonder. So,
ooh.
Yeah,
It's quite a wall.
it's definitely like, you know,
Man.
and like you come and you grow. And I like to watch a lot of music documentaries now about people that are influential like that.
Yeah.
And it just gives you kind of like it gives you solidification of the music that you were listening to then, and then like it's relevance like now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so but Prince hands down, only because he did so many things musically, and changed the world. He was such a visionary. Like he knew we were gonna be like sharing music like over the internet before anybody. You know what I mean? To hear that
so
stuff is
smart.
like crazy.
So smart.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
him like trying to tell people about the record industry years.
I remember.
ago,
I
you know
remember
what I
that
mean?
interview.
Like,
I
you know what I
remember
mean?
he was just like, "Why am I going to give the record company $10?" And
Right.
all that.
Right.
I mean,
all
he
that's
was-
like he's so ahead of his
he was
time.
ahead.
And do yourself a favor if you're a Prince fan, go to Paisley Park because you'll get an intricate view. And it wasn't so much for me because to me Paisley Park is really it's really Purple Rain and on.
Yeah.
So for the avid Prince fan that's before that, it's not a lot for you, but still you can learn a lot about the man. I remember he was here at the Forum and I went to his concert and I didn't realize he was here for 21 days because someone said they're going to Prince concert. I was like, damn, I had a game. And I'm like, 2 days later, somebody was like, I'm going to Prince concert. I was like, he's still here?
Yeah.
And so I had
We went. We went.
Who was the opener for, like when you went?
Mint Condition. Yeah.
See, Mint Condition. I love Mint Condition too, and I was so upset I didn't go on that day because I would have gone on that day.
Yep.
So when I went, it was Corinne Bailey Rae, which was still dope.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
But I just remember like being on the floor because my friend was the fire chief, and so he brought me down like on the floor.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, I'm watching Prince, and I can't remember what song they're playing, but it was the drummer, and I could tell that the drummer was putting an extra beat in like a song, and because I liked it, I could see.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching Prince. Because I'm watching the drummer and I'm watching Prince, and I watch Prince look back. And then he just starts singing, and like immediately it like went to like the same thing, and I was like so dope because I was like I heard that extra beat, and then for Prince to like I'm watching Prince as he's singing, and you can tell he's irritated, and he just kind of like look back, like nope,
that's wrong.
I'm
docking pay.
Yeah. So that was so crazy to me, and I was supposed to be able to, you know how he does those notorious parties afterwards, and I was supposed to go to that, but someone the night before had broke in and stole a guitar, so he canceled the after party. So I was like this close.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I was just like, but yeah, that's one of my fondest memories because like I don't know if anyone else saw him like look back at the drummer like
right, but
like,
you knew why.
But I knew why he was doing because I heard the extra beat because I was
yeah.
like, why is he putting that extra beat? Even though I like it, like I can hear that extra beat.
Yeah.
And Prince was like, no,
that's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
We're not doing it. Although it's good, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
And that says so much to me about him, like, and then like him being in control,
right,
of what he's doing, and then also, just knowing the music, and then like also, it kind of validated me knowing when I'm listening to the music, like I hear like the different, like how we talked about earlier about how like someone will put like something extra in and like you can hear it, like you know what I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, Prince hands down. Prince hands down.
Okay, so 2 questions.
Okay.
How upset were you with the World Series last year and they didn't get to play here at Dodger Stadium? Yeah. Were you just like, are you kidding me? We make it to the World Series. Yeah. I'm DJing. I should be like this, like, let's go. Yeah. So now they gotta go again, so that you can do this.
It's funny. Okay, I even add to that.
Okay.
If you really go back, so 2017 and 18, I had to play music for the Astros and for the Red Sox when they won, because at the time you worked for the MLB. And so they, you don't work for Dodgers at the time.
Okay,
you work for MLB.
So all right, so there's a whole new like meeting happen, and it's like, okay, so check it out. You're going to be playing this, and we need this.
Yeah, they let you kind of like they kind of let you stay out of their way, but there's certain commercials and certain things you have to do their way. And so when they won, I have to help them celebrate. So 2 years ago, and so as I'm getting to the World Series, I'm like, okay, it was surreal at certain different points because I kept holding out faith that they would like send me there, and I kept hearing like through meetings like
that you would get to go to Texas?
I would get to go. Yeah. And so I heard through someone who wasn't supposed to tell me, they were like they were on a meeting with MLB, and when they finally, because I was just trying to wait for them to advance because I didn't want to ask anything because it was a moot point if they didn't make it to like the World Series. Sure. So as I'm there, I'm hearing other people say, hey, management was on the phone with MLB, and they said it's not a home field advantage if you don't send our DJ. And so they weren't supposed to tell me that, but it's like I really like so to hear that kind of like validated for me.
Man, that's really great.
Yeah. And so the Texas Ranger DJ is the one who did it, and so
so he's like the home guy.
He's the home guy there, and so they came to us and they said, look, can you package up a bunch of the stuff and send there? And so I just kind of had to compartmentalize and get my best stuff and get it ready, and I sent it off. But it actually worked out. I don't want to say better for me, but I did so much press here because of it, and people wanted to interview me, and then once they found out I was here, they wanted to find out how I did it. And I was kind of trying to keep quiet because I wanted it to sound the same and maybe the players think I was there. Gotcha. Because I don't really want to throw them like off like that much. Yeah. And so there's certain players I'll text like all the time. Like me and AJ Pollock text back and forth. Like when he does good, me and Gavin Lux like text back and forth. I just say like good job. You know what I mean? Like keep it up. They say like thanks. So I kind of like did my same like thing. And so I just sent my show and what I thought would work. Now the dope thing about it is the DJ there kept getting compliments
on your mixes,
on my mixes and my
man,
music.
you're doing such a great job.
And he was like, he kept having to tag me. This is because DJ Severe, because DJ
well,
Severe.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
That's
Which was nice. And then, so it's funny because the last game we were at the studio and Liz Habib reached out I was on one playoff game, and then Liz B reached out on a championship game, and I was actually on live with them after the Dodgers won.
Okay.
So it was Liz B and Steve Garvey
Okay.
and me, and I got to give my own like commentary.
Yeah.
Which was like
That's great.
It was just great. So I mean,
That wouldn't have happened.
it wouldn't have happened
Right,
they
had
been,
you- exactly.
had they been here.
Right.
So
You got extra like
I got
stuff
extra,
to
like,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which actually benefited.
and I probably was on every news channel. Someone interviewed me at this like the stadium. So I'm
really
I'm
cool.
meeting all these different people, and everybody I'm giving them the little different intricacies, and so I just keep seeing how every year the spotlight just grows like a little bit more and more and more. But these are like my favorite interviews to like do because I can really get into the meat and the bones of it, and then, it's funny because a lot of people don't know there's this much to it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's a lot
There's a lot
to it in a day. It's
and
definitely
you
a
know,
lot of work.
and so listening to your whole story and understanding, there's so much that goes into what you do, but it's also someone could have the same kind of skill set as you, but if they don't have the right personality,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
So
definitely.
it really, it's like it's kind of like there's a lot of great musicians that you could pull, right, and play in this band or that band, but no one wants to play with a jerk.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
People
right.
want to play with people that are
Right,
cool
right.
and like you can hang with, and so it's the same. Like,
Yeah.
not only do you have to be talented, you need to know like your music knowledge has to be so great, but you also have to be a people person.
Yeah.
You also have to understand, like, all of the okay, cool, I got all right. You know, like, man, it's
You have to navigate.
whoo, you're juggling
everything that's
a
coming
lot.
in, and then even like so my social media works different. It's like my Instagram stays hot all the time.
Yeah.
My Twitter goes hotter during baseball. Like my Twitter is 100% like Dodger driven, and that's when I'm most interactive. Like in the game where people ask me, what's this song? Or
Gotcha.
and people will say, that song is great, or that's DJ Severe, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I can see how, and I like to stay interactive with the fans on Twitter. And it's manageable now. I can see where it could get like out of control. But I mean, it's manageable now because people will ask me like, what song is that? So I'll just screenshot it, you know what I mean? Send it
Yeah,
to
so
them, and they'll
boom,
say thank you.
done.
And I like that part of it.
Yeah.
I get a little bit more recognized like when I step out of the press box now. But before, I used to like to walk out at the end of the night, and I still see people like singing or like dancing, or like the cameraman come up to me, because people don't realize I'm kind of working for the cameraman too, because if I don't have people dancing, the cameraman have nobody to shoot.
Exactly.
And so every cameraman I work with is always like, man, you made
Thank
my
you.
job that much
Right.
that much easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they'll tell me like, yeah, the vibe is the same, because, and then the way I look out into it, so I'm reading my crowd different, because it's like I can look down at the very bottom, but those people are the people with money that's not really like gonna party. But what it is it's the pavilion, and then the upper levels, and then like right above me. Once they're moving, that's how you know that you're really doing. Because most people like at the bottom are a little bit more stiffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can see
Yeah,
them like
yeah,
moving,
yeah.
but you have to like search a little bit more. But like for the cameraman to come back in and then tell me like it sounded good and the people were dancing and the vibe was right, because that's really all I want to do is create a great vibe for
That's
people
what
to
you
come
wanna do.
and want to come to the stadium, and to hear people say that the music is great. When I meet people and they say, "Oh, I love what you do," that's like
Yeah.
really why I do it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, I do have one more question. Let's
Okay.
make sure. Okay. So Neil, he's the one that asked you, favorite Dodger. He says, Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Come on, man. He's just messing with you. Cool. My last question. So aside from all that you're doing with the Dodgers, what else is next? Like what? What's
We were just
the
talking about
next?
that on the way
Yeah,
over here.
what's the?
I'm constantly thinking life after, or life incorporated, or you know what I mean, what it is. It's sometimes it's hard for me to think, because it's like I'm trying to keep it like kind of in a vacuum. I said, because we won, I'm hoping we rattle off like 3 more and I can be a part of it.
Right.
I love music so much, and I love like where it's going. I love all the aspects of playing like for 50,000, but also like the intimate part of it. I really want to I really want to tour, like with my own group of DJs that kind of come up with me, kind of like open format stuff. I had the chance to while I did some EDM stuff because there's a lot of within a lot of the new music I pull in, a lot of EDM artists come and they hear their music, and so I developed these relationships with the EDM guys, which I love, like the EDM because it's so close to like house, and not the rise up stuff that takes forever, but like the constant like moving stuff, and so I've developed a lot of relationships with them. So I like to tour EDM wise, play those kind of festivals, but I'd like to come in and add the house stuff, you know what I mean, the old school stuff, that different like little remixes. And as I meet these artists and I reach out to them, they send me all their music. So it's like I'm playing like all these firsts at Dodger Stadium that nobody else is playing. And so when they come, I use them for like an opener, and they just get like so happy to do it. So it's like word is spreading. But I really would like to tour with a really dope either 90s artist or someone who, doesn't matter what genre of music, someone who knows how to incorporate a DJ in their show. You know what I mean? To bring people back to like certain things. That is really my goal, to kind of like tour, take my build up my following, and then just go out and just do open format stuff, whether you know me, whether you don't, but just kind of like tour, and kind of like the music we talked about earlier, kind of like breathing life into those songs in the middle of someone's dope set. It doesn't matter. It can be an alternative. It doesn't matter. I just want to tour with somebody and then be that DJ, and then like either in the middle of the show or bring the show. I love that part of it because I'm a fan of music too, and I just want to like kind of see the world and just like play music. Yeah, you know what I mean. And just go wherever and just as DJ, because like I don't think I'm ever gonna stop. It's like, you know what I mean. I like it all. I know it all. Yeah. As far as music wise, I'm always listening for like new stuff. That's just still such a great feeling to me when like I hear something new. And I'm like, okay, I can't wait to take this and use this here or use this like there. When you discover something old that you forgot about, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to like. So it's like, I think as long as I get that feeling, I'm like good to go. Right. You know what I mean? That's what keeps me going. Man. You know?
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I really, really appreciate you taking time out, sharing your story. Man, it's super inspirational, and you're in the middle of your career here. Yeah. I mean, it's like you've got so much still to do, yet you've done so much already. This is really, you're in the middle of just it's like the best times, man. This is so fun. It's so fun to witness and just have you sharing. Do we have any follow-up questions on Instagram, or we're good? Yeah. All right. I think we're good here on Facebook. DJ Severe, thank you so much, man.
My pleasure.
All right. This has been episode 123 of Inside the OMG. And, man, this is so fun for me to share your story. And this was great. Next week, we're going to be doing it remotely, and I'll probably be playing some songs for you. We're going to do that. And also, our contest, the TuneSpeak contest, is coming to a close. We got 5 more days. And I just want to show you really quick. Let me pull up the right shot. We're at 4.7 million entries. 4.7 million entries on this contest. We got 5 more days. So someone's going to win a private show. You're going to win some Amazon gift cards, some merchandise. And I just want to say thank you so much for participating. It's not too late to jump in. Get in there, share the music, do what you got to do to earn your points. And then the drawing happens in 5 days, and TuneSpeak is going to handle all that, and it's a random drawing. There's 3 winners. And man, just thank you so much for participating. And maybe we'll be doing a show locally for you. Maybe we'll be streaming it live for you if you're too far away. Or if you feel like flying us out, we can do that too. That's a thing. And maybe we need to take DJ Severe. Maybe we do it like a double package.
That'd be dope.
Man, how about that, right? That'd be just awesome.
That'd be dope.
So thanks again. Next week will be episode 124. We have some great guests coming up as well. Johnny Vatos, the drummer from Oingo Boingo, is going to be our next guest in a couple of weeks. We've got Julian Douglas, who's a concert promoter. He also known as Mr. 80s. He's coming up. And then we got Jason Johnson, who's a film and TV composer. He does commercials and films and whatnot, so that'll be a great conversation as well. Thanks again. I love you. See you next time. Stay strong. And that's it. Any parting words? Any last thoughts?
Go Dodgers.
There it is. Go Dodgers!